Ito ang INCRadio, DZEM 954, ang tinig ng katotohanan, himpilan ng Iglesia ni Cristo, sumasahimpapawid mula sa Quezon City.
Don't underestimate
the power
of a single
conversation.
It could change your whole life.
INCRadio Chatline.
Conversations that matter.
So, what impresses you? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Like when we talk about something that's impressive, like what kind of comes to mind to me is like I won't say it's kind of like like you like something. It's just like like when you I don't know if you've seen this trend, Arnie, like when that trend of like flipping the bottle so it lands like it lands on its feet, like it lands straight up, right? Like when
that doesn't
like
impress
that's
me.
impressive.
No,
You didn't
because
find that
it's
impressive?
random. That's not
It's
a
random.
it's not a skill. It's luck. Because you can do it multiple times. Unless you can do it every single time, then it's a skill. But if
Like
you
the
keep
exact
flipping
same
that
way.
bottle, and sometimes it makes it, sometimes it doesn't, it's just coincidence or luck. So that doesn't impress me.
Well, is there not a lot of things that impress you, Arnie?
Actually, there's a few things that do impress me. I mean, like I think as you get older, you tend to not. It doesn't phase you as much. I know when I was younger, just the littlest things would impress me. Like people who had money, people who had nice cars and nice houses. I thought that was very impressive. But then as you start to get older and you try to figure out what matters more, then I think the impressing part just gets a little bit less, because now to me, it doesn't really matter if a person has money or not. For me, what's more important is, how they are as a person, if they're funny, if they're nice, and things like that. So it has changed over the years, I must say.
So I guess it's kind of like when you were saying, like before, like what impresses you is like when someone, like has money, they have a car, maybe they have a house, right? It's like when you're a kid, it's things that you don't have and things that you kind of feel like, like this is like kind of like what makes an adult. They have their money, they have like a car, they have a house, like that's kind of like what you like. It's kind of like what you don't have. That kind of like what impresses you, but. I don't know, like for me, when I'm thinking like what impresses me, like in terms of like media, because I know, like we're kind of living at a time where we have there's no drought in terms of like media, be it like books, movies, video games, or whatever. Like there's just too many to kind of absorb, right? So like I guess what impresses me, and I know a lot of things that aren't popular, I kind of end up liking them as well. Like I like things that are popular, but I also like things that aren't popular. Because see, this is what impresses me. What impresses me is like intention and effort, right? If like if someone, like even if it's not refined, like let's say it's a movie or a short film on YouTube or something, like even if it's like the budget is low, even if the acting's kind of bad, like it still impresses me, like if their intention shows in their effort. So like
What does that mean, EJ?
like
No.
when no.
No, if the movie's bad, it doesn't matter how much they attempted. If it's bad, it's just bad. I mean, like, I get the effort, which is good, but just because you put effort in it, it doesn't mean it's going to be impressive.
Okay, I guess go ahead, Tanya.
No, just commenting. Just interesting. That's interesting. Go ahead.
I feel like me and Arnie have like a different like definition of like impressed. Because for me that's impressive. Like when, oh, but well, it's not always. I won't always say that it's impressive. You know, like the only thing that makes it impressive is if they can show the intention through the effort. You know, if it feels like they're putting an effort but they don't understand what they're trying to make, like that doesn't impress me. You know, it doesn't impress me. Like A for effort, but A for effort, but it doesn't impress me. It's like it has to be like a combination of the two. Like even if it's not popular, even if it's kind of like it's not polished, if that's like the right word. It's rough around the edges. If it's still something that kind of like like I can see the effort, or no, not I can see the intention through the effort. It still impresses me, and like what's
And,
that?
and I think depending on what you've experienced in life and what you've gone through in life, kind of um, dictates what impresses you. For example, like you were saying, the things that you never had. So if you had never been on vacation or you've never gone on any trips, sometimes when you see people going international or something, that's impressive because it's something you've never done, right? But with some people, like, they do it all the time and they see other people doing it, then that doesn't really impress them.
So is
You
it
know?
fair to say that we are impressed with things that we don't know or that we don't have?
I think both. I think it's the things you don't know and you don't have. Because for me, I think I'm a safe person. I don't think I'm daring, even though people say I'm daring. And so when I see people like skydiving, right? If I see somebody skydiving, to me, that's impressive. I'm not crazy enough to do something like that. And I don't think I would ever jump out of a plane. But just the fact, like, it's something I would want to do, but I would never do it. And so when somebody does that, to me, I think that's impressive. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
things that maybe it's out of our reach or something that is out of the norm for us. Because like, okay, everybody reads a book, right? Or everybody eats. So it's not impressive, oh, everyone eats. But if someone's eating like, let's say lobster or caviar, things like that that we don't eat on a regular basis, that might impress other people, right?
It's
Yeah.
interesting. I think it almost sounds like a conversation about standards in a way. A little bit. Agree? Disagree? Kind of?
What do you
Yes.
mean by like?
Yeah.
Oh. What I do want to kind of like ask, like, what do you mean by like standards?
Just to Arnie's point, we're talking about experiences, right? And things
Mhm.
that, like, let's say all your life you've been going to a diner and you think that steak is so great and you're just so used to that. But then you get an opportunity to go to this like 5-star restaurant, and there's plenty out there that do steaks really well. And you're like, whoa, I've never tried a steak like this before. And then it levels up to something else because again, it's something you've never had, or you're even from afar, even like on social media, people will see things like you see people travel to these different places, they vlog and everything, and you're like, oh, that's impressive. And it's kind of like mentally you have that standard of, I think this is impressive to me because I've never done it before, or it's impressive to me because it requires more work to get there. Like people are impressed by college degrees. Doctors is a perfect example. Whenever you hear doctor attached to someone's name, you're like, whoa, this person went. I don't know about Arnie. Maybe she doesn't feel unless it's blonde hair, blue eye.
Judging by their expression.
No, I agree with you on that because just like, let's say, even in a social setting, right? Let's say you're dating somebody and, yeah, like they take you to Red Lobster. That's like a norm, right?
Yeah.
And then so when someone you're dating, well, I don't know.
Sorry,
But let's say
beside the point.
someone you're dating, like you said, takes you to a 5-star restaurant where you have multiple utensils, where you don't only have the one fork, where you have like 3 forks and you got to figure out which one to use, right?
Yeah.
And so when somebody does that, and a lot of times people do that to impress the other person, then I think that is that becomes impressive, instead of just, oh, sure, let's go take you to a McDonald's for a date.
And I think what Arnie's speaking to as well is it depends on the context, because you have different standards for different things. You have different standards for food, your taste in food, your taste in, potential partners, right? Your potential boyfriend or girlfriend. If I am in a room, of these different people, what I am impressed by in terms of the character is going to be different than what Arnie is impressed by. I'm not super impressed by blue-eyed blonde hair.
I am. Okay.
Fair
That
point.
will like trump anything else. Okay.
Yeah, that's top tier. That's top tier
Well,
for
actually,
Arnie. So yeah,
it's not just blue-eyed blonde hair. They could have dark hair, but it's the whole. I think it's the whole light skin.
okay. But standards, I guess that's my point. It sounds like this is a conversation about standards, and it might not necessarily always feel that way, because I feel like when we see stuff that impresses us, it's just like initial reaction, like, oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Or, oh wow, that's fascinating, because you don't know. That's something. I feel like it's something that's kind of out of reach typically when you're talking about being impressed by something. Thoughts?
Yeah. No, I agree. And like I said, a lot of times we're impressed by things that's either out of our reach, or we're impressed by things that we would not normally do. Because if it's something that we do every day, then it's really not impressive. Like for me, I think what's another thing that impresses me is when someone can speak multiple languages. And I'm not saying just bilingual,
Yeah.
if they can do 3, 4, 5
Polyglot?
languages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Agree.
Or if a guy could like play an instrument and sing and cook, that's impressive.
Mhm.
It looks like a unicorn. It never happens.
Definitely a lot of
There's
guys
like
learn
50% of
instruments.
Filipinos.
Okay, light
Not
skin
to
that could cook
generalize.
and
I think
play
so.
instrument and sing.
I think
Usually
so.
somebody could play
Oh,
an instrument and can't sing.
I know a couple. I know a couple.
More
Who are,
common than you think.
like,
I think,
yeah.
Arnie. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Arnie. I know a couple who are who fit into that like category. But speaking of like because we brought up I think who brought up I think it was me who brought up like social media. But like in terms of like like things that become popular and like social media, I'll be honest, like a lot of the things that become popular, like not all of, at least now, not all of them impressed me. I would say even back then, not a lot of the things that became popular back then like impressed me. Like it didn't get me that oh wow, like kind of reaction from it. Most times it got like a but why like reaction from it. And I don't know, like I feel like for me, I don't understand really like what makes something like impressive to not a lot of people, but to like what makes something so impressive that it becomes a hit on like social media.
Well, this is my thing with social media. I think what's different with being impressed with something that's like, let's say one-on-one, let's say we're sharing stories and you tell me something and I can be genuinely impressed, sincerely, with what you're saying. I'm like, wow, EJ, that's so cool that you were able to do that hike. Versus social media, you get to kind of see other people's opinions about a certain thing. And that tends to influence us, doesn't it? It tends to influence us because you're like, oh, so many people think this thing is cool. Should I think this thing is cool? Maybe I should think this thing is cool. But that all happens so fast that I don't think we even realize that we're kind of giving into that in a little bit. Like it's like a subconscious thing. Like we just see everybody agreeing with this thing and you're like, oh, I guess, that is really cool. But that's not always the case, right? I think that's where discernment comes in. And you kind of have to think about what you're looking at. Is like, do I think that's cool because it is genuinely cool? Or do I think that it's cool because it's trendy? Because a lot of people are just posting about it. A lot of people are just doing the same things. It's like a group think kind of thing.
I feel like that's what you said there. That's me with music. Like, because there's a lot of songs that I listen to now that I never thought I would like want to listen to them. Like when, like the first time I'm hearing them, I'm like,
yeah,
I don't like it. I don't like it. But it gets played over and over. Like my friends play it in the car. I hear it on the radio. Yeah. Like at some point, at some point, I'm like doing work and just start humming it or I just start singing the lyrics. And I'm like, Wait, why am I singing that song? I don't like that song. I don't
I mean,
listen
it could
to
be a
it.
good or it could
Yeah.
be a good or bad thing, just depending on what
Mm,
it is. No.
yeah. Like especially with, like the and this is something that I think with music now, as long as the beat, the melody sounds good, like we kind of just like like we kind of listen to the beat, the melody. But sometimes like for me, like so I kind of when I'm kind of like in the mood to kind of like, okay, let's look at the lyrics, and I'm like, like does that align with like what I
Yeah.
personally agree with? Not all the times, no. And it kind of makes me feel guilty listening to it now, especially when it gets to that part of the song, and I'm just like, I'm tuning out the lyrics in my
It's like,
for that part. Yeah, because I'm like, I like this song, but I don't like I don't like what that part is like saying. So I kind of like tune it out. So that kind of brings us all like you know like in terms of like influence, because I feel like uh especially with especially with music and like the lyrics, sometimes I would say this, because this happened to me when I was younger, like the song that I would listen to and like being sort of like an emotional teenager, like listening to songs, I paid attention to the lyrics to it. I would say I sort of like sometimes I would adopt kind of like the mindset that I would hear from like the songs that I'm listening to. And it's like when I look back at them, it's just like I always ask myself, like why would I kind of like subscribe to that mindset? Like that mindset made me feel horrible, like that mindset made me feel miserable. Like what was it, like, and I think it's like it's because I let it, because I was impressed by the melody. I paid attention to the lyrics, and then the lyrics kind of like influenced the way that like I like thought. Oh, Arnie's gonna say something. I saw her unmute.
Oh, no, 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 no. I was just thinking because for me, I think I don't get impressed a lot when it comes to social media. I know a lot of people do,
Mhm.
and like you said, right? Oh, people are jumping on the bandwagon because they do this stuff. And so one example is with Korean drama, or the
careful
K-pop
now.
band and the K-pop
Careful.
bands, right? So people watch it and everyone's like, "Oh, it's the greatest thing," and then they jump on that bandwagon. And so, like with my sister, that's how it was with her. And she convinced my older sister, who was never into any of that stuff. But
Mhm.
a lot of that is because I think it was what they saw on social media on how they were popularized, and so it was influential. But for people who don't care about that stuff, then I don't think it influences them. So I
Mhm.
think it's just how you see things. It still plays a part on whether something's going to influence you or not.
For sure.
Mhm. Since you brought up like K-pop and K-drama, like this is just an observation. You don't have to worry then. It's just an observation. Like I noticed in terms of like fashion, hairstyles and stuff, like a lot of like the stuff you can would see on like K-pop and like K-dramas. Like I feel like that has influenced like hairstyles and fashion like a lot, because I'm seeing this in a lot of like like my younger friends, like the kind of like the fashion that they're wearing. It's like it's very different from like this that I'm wearing. This I feel like this is very 2010s, like the open flannel shirt with like,
And it's not just the fashion and everything. I mean, like
mm,
companies are jumping on the bandwagon, like
yeah.
like McDonald's. They started having all the K-pop guys in their Happy Meals, right? They gave out little toys. You have clothing companies who never would have looked at these people, having them model their clothing and things like that, and soda, things like that. So, you
Mhm.
know, in some way they are influential, but not always.
Mhm.
What I will say though is I don't think that that's new. I don't think that
Yeah.
that's a new concept either, because looking at the decades of how music and like the television shows and what was put out there, I feel like people were influenced with, because you can see it in the pictures, the decades with like the hair, how everybody would have the same kind of similar hair, I feel like it goes back to that thing of what everyone seems to accept, what everyone perceives that is accepted. They're like, oh, that's cool. But I think what to Arnie's point is you draw the line when you start trying to assess for yourself, why do I actually like this, and do I like it for what it is? Because for me, I'm not a huge like K-drama person or like K-pop person. You won't see me listening to it every day. But what I did was, instead of giving in to just what I heard, I went to kind of look for myself. Is this really good? Like, let me see. So I gave it a chance. There's some that I enjoyed, but it's what makes it hard for me is that I can't sit down and dedicate time to do the reading. If I have an English dub, I'm good. But that's about preference there, I think. But it's just being able to say, like, am I allowing this influence of, oh, this is like the greatest thing, this is like sensational, oh wow, versus looking at something for what it is and being like, do I actually like this for liking it, or do I like this because a bunch of other people like it? I feel like that self-awareness is
Especially
really
if the people who like it are like your friends, right? And you're like, you kind of want to fit in, sort of, and like but your friends, your classmates, maybe that you're close to, like in school or like at work, right? You're kind of like, this is what's popular in the office,
you don't want to feel weird. You don't want to feel like left out.
See, but how does that play a part in your life? I understand people don't want to be left out, right? Everyone wants to be part of the group. But are you really gonna get influenced just because everyone else is doing it? I mean, isn't it okay to like be the different person and not, give in just because everybody else is, And I think I'm that person because people think I'm crazy. And I'm like, if it just doesn't really entice me, then it's not a big deal. I don't care that everyone's doing it. I don't care that everyone's watching that stuff. I'm not going to watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's important.
Like,
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say it's important to know, like what you said earlier, like knowing where you draw the line, and in terms of like like knowing why why and if you actually like something, like if you like something, like why do you like it, if it impresses you, why does it impress you, like knowing like, and separating being impressed with being influenced. And that's something I had to learn as well, like there were like I would say I struggled drawing that line before, like finding the line between impressive and influential to me.
Yeah.
I would say now that I'm older, I kind of understand what Arnie meant by like, well, not the thing about like not a lot of things impressing, being able to separate impressive from influential, right? Like I know what impresses me, like I know what kind of like gets a reaction out of me, like, oh wow, like that's that's cool, that's awesome, and something that I would be like, okay, like it's cool, but I know what my values are, I know what like kind of like I'll allow like into my life, and like whatever I won't allow, like then I won't, like even if it does impress me, it does impress me, if it's not there, like it within like the boundaries of like my values, but
I feel like you can respect things for what they are. Like you can respect, like that's great if that's what they want, versus but this is what I want, this is what's important. Being able to have that duality of like, that's great for you if that's what you're trying to do, but that's not what I'm trying to do with my life, or that's not something that, like, yeah, that's great that you're able to do all these things, but because you don't have to hate on people, we're not out to like hate on what people are doing. I mean, of course, don't do anything bad, like don't be impressed by bad things, obviously, but if people are out there doing, they're traveling and they're doing all these things, you can be happy for those people, but you don't have to have that like immediate, like, oh, I want that too, or
Mhm.
assessment. I feel like there's always self-assessment, reflection, and be like, where am I at? Where's this at? Yeah. So
I'd say that's a good place to end it off because like like being mindful, like that's a good place to kind of end up. But I do enjoy. Thank you for joining me today, Tony, Arnie. Thank you for like helping with like this topic because it did impress me when I first saw it. And thank you to our audience as well there in our live chat. I saw a couple greetings. I'm sorry I don't have time to read like all of your comments right now, but I will go back and read them later on. We hope you enjoyed the show. Again, like thank you for tuning in to Chatline where we have conversations that matter, and we're finding we are finding connection through conversations. Sorry, it took me a while to remember that. But we hope to see you again next Friday, and hope you enjoyed today's show. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
This is what I ask. Let me always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I rule my last. This is what I ask. Let me always dwell in the temple of